One of the most discussed matters in St. Kitts right now is the Labour Party Leadership Conference, which is coming up on the 28th of May, just 12 days away. All offices are up for grabs, including party leader, 2 deputy leader spots, party chair, and 3 deputy chair spots. After 32 years and 7 months, the curtain will come down on the leadership of Dr. Douglas, and the position will be filled by Dr. Terence Drew, Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, or Mr. Conris Maynard. If Dr. Douglas cares about his legacy and the future of the party, he'll be sure to conduct himself in a statesmanlike and uninterfering manner. He will demonstrate that he understands that the last 2 elections were referenda on him and that he lost them both, and that any appearance in the minds of the general electorate that he has a surrogate in this race will damage that person's and the party's chances of success at the next general elections. Some of you might not like to hear this, and you might want to shoot the messenger, but history will show you that shooting the messenger never kills the message. Right now, each candidate and his supporters and promoters are working vigorously to reach the magic number. Whatever that number is, that will get him over the line to become the 89-year-old organization's 6th leader, following in the footsteps of Thomas Manchester, Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, Caleb Azariah Paul Southwell, Lee Llewellyn Moore, and Dr. Denzil Llewellyn Douglas. The Labour Party is the oldest political organization in the English-speaking Caribbean, and its history is rich and diverse, punctuated by great accomplishments for the people of this country and the people of the region. They built the foundation for social, economic, and political prosperity in this country. Now, this is not to suggest for a moment that the Labour Party is or was perfect, but the undeniable truth is that its service over the decades has been quite impressive, and it has more to offer. This is also not to say that other parties have not contributed or have nothing to contribute. I'd be foolish to say that, even to think that. But today I'm focusing basically on the Labour Party. We in this country and the world are at a crossroads. We need able, efficient, visionary, compassionate, disciplined, loving, unifying, inclusive, respectful leadership, qualities that are very hard to find in the present leadership of the country. And by getting it right, the delegates need to realize that this exercise will not just be a Labour Party thing, because, as I've said in an earlier commentary, after they've elected their leader, he must now face the country to see if he's acceptable to the country. If he is, he will create a wave of positive energy which will lift him, his candidates, and his party, and indeed the mood in the country, and great things will become possible. If he is not acceptable to the country, Labour will lose the next election and probably remain in the wilderness for 10 or more years to come. My duty is not to tell you what you want to hear, but to tell you what in my heart and my mind I believe you need to hear. Remember this conversation 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years from now, and let's see. That'll be the test. From where I sit, it seems that one of the 3 candidates has a target on his back, and that's because he's the favorite both within the party and in the country as a whole. But there are 2 other candidates and some propagandists, whether engaged or self-appointed, on the inside who want their man to win, as futile as that may be. And I say it is futile because their man does not have anywhere near as good a chance to win the overall election for the party as does the candidate who has the target on his back. The one with the target on his back would easily make the most formidable opponent for the people presently running the country. So they are also attacking him, sometimes through fake names, pretending to be Labour supporters, because they want to deepen rifts and divisiveness and hostility within the Labour Party. That's the oldest trick in the book. Timothy Harris has the largest group of communicators and messengers ever by a party leader and prime minister, and that is reflected in the government payroll, all to promote him and to pull down, whether in his cabinet or not, anybody who irks him or whom he sees as a threat or a bother. Those persons supporting another Labour candidate for the leadership who are looking to weaken the front runner need to rethink what they're doing, because the consequences of their actions will only make things worse for them and the party. They must also ensure that they are guided by a standard of decorum and dignity, which will put pride and gratification on the faces of the legends and rank and file soldiers of the past. To be honest, Some of the spears that are being thrown in the direction of the front runner are silly. They say that he's not married, unlike the two other gentlemen, and that is a disadvantage. A disadvantage to whom? Many who are saying so are ardent supporters of Dr. Douglas, who has never been married. I suppose their opinion is based not on the principle, but on the person who is or who would be leader. A few of them are very upset with me for the commentary which I gave a few weeks ago, in which, in an objective and clinical way, I gave a brief presentation of my views on the three candidates. I invite them to ignore everything that I say. Ask their leaders what the professional pollsters are saying. Ask Don Anderson, ask Bill Johnson, ask Peter Wickham, and I believe that the professional pollsters will tell you exactly what I'm telling you. And Mr. Conrad Maynard himself has been discouraging people from listening to individuals who have left the party and are now trying to advise. I wonder why he did not express similar feelings at the last election, when Sam Conda and myself publicly endorsed the Labour Party and its candidates, himself included. I also wonder if he would have had the same words to say if in my commentary I had named him as the best choice. By telling people not to listen to those who left the party, Mr. Maynard is displaying an exclusionary and exclusivist attitude, which is certainly the wrong way to be and to go. The approach has to be to invite, include and welcome people under the tent, not to shoo them away because they say something which does not please you. Mr. Maynard's attitude on this leaves one to wonder about his political skills. Interestingly, him telling people who to listen to and not to listen to is disturbingly similar to comments made over the last 6 years by none other than Timothy Harris, who is notoriously intolerant of and even vicious towards persons who assess and sometimes criticize his words and actions. Then we're hearing that regular party conference attendees may not get invited to this conference because of the suspicion that they might not vote for a particular candidate. Another unwise move, if this information is correct, because those very persons and their families and loved ones might get turned off and end up not voting for that particular candidate or the party. That will hurt in the election. You need to avoid that. Then there is the matter of which is the more prudent option to follow for Mr. Maynard, seeking the leadership or seeking to recover the seat which he lost. He had won the seat by about 272 votes in 2015, then lost it by over 70 in 2020, for a net loss of nearly 350 votes in a 5-year period. At the same time, Dr. Hanley reversed a 4-vote deficit and won by 25 votes or so, for a net gain of about 30 votes. Then Dr. Drew had pulled back from a loss of over 236 votes in 2015 to a loss, and remember shenanigans took place, of about 25 votes in 2020, for a net gain between 2015 and 2020 of over 200 votes. This data tells you that Dr. Drew had made up by far the most lost ground over that 5-year period. And it is widely believed that had it not been for the animus of so many voters in constituency number 8, especially in Cayon, against Dr. Douglas, that Dr. Drew would have won that seat handily, even without the shenanigans perpetrated against him. It is to some extent against this backdrop that some Labour supporters in constituency 3 and elsewhere believe that Mr. Maynard, if he's going to be the candidate, should focus all of his energy on recovering that seat, which had always been held by Labour. It is felt that he owes the party and the people the duty to try to recover the precious and historic seat which he lost. And it is felt that that effort would be enough to consume his time and energy. Those same Labour supporters and others are saying that if the Labour Party conference elects him as leader, he would have no wings under which fellow candidates could fly to success. And not only would the party lose the next general elections, but he too would lose again in number 3. Then some of his supporters are putting forward the argument that he would have the most money to use as a leader. If those people believe that Mr. Maynard is going to take up his money and spend it on the party, then they are truly in a deep sleep, which will turn inevitably into a nightmare. The truth of the matter is that if people in the community and beyond see a strong leader who is not part of the prior dynasty and who has the acceptability to be prime minister nationwide, money will come. And while money is important in elections, more and more people are waking up to the understanding that a handout at election time is nowhere near as beneficial to them and their children, and sustainably so, as a hand up, so that they, their children, and those to come can live in dignity and fend for themselves and their families. only calling upon the authorities in times of extreme distress. $5,000 at elections works out to be $1,000 a year, or just about $2.75 a day. Who can live on that? Who can thrive on that? Who can succeed on that? The one-ton handouts are disgraceful and degrading. And so further to what I said in my first commentary on this topic, and with the greatest of respect to all, it is clear that Mr. Maynard would be the worst choice for leader of the Labour Party, both in terms of the party's interests at constituency and national levels. Dr. Drew, on the science and the politics, is the best choice. The actions of delegates to the party's conference on the 28th of November will determine the possibility of regaining government soon or not for the next 10 or more years. The party and the country are at a major crossroads. I can tell you that if those in power remain, there will be no country left in the next 10 years. Given the rampant abuse of public office, the sheer callous incompetence and self-serving behavior and lack of vision and compassion that we are witnessing. And this harsh reality is a message to Labour Party supporters and delegates not to be guided by emotion, but to do what is best for the party and the country today and in the future. One final thing. I got a call the other night from a friend who told me that a person who she believes is a Labour supporter residing in a constituency, not 1, not 3, not 8, has said that some people are saying that my apparent support for Dr. Drew may hurt his chances of success. Certain propagandists inside and outside the Labour Party share the common view that Dr. Drew is the strongest candidate, and so they are looking to pull him down by discouraging and silencing voices of support and reason. My voice, if I may humbly say so myself, being one of those. But that's not going to happen. Labour Party members who are paid up and who have been regular attendees and delegates at the party conferences, do not allow yourselves to be left out. And to all who vote on that day, bear in mind that it is better to elect a man who has the best chances of becoming Prime Minister and bringing your party back into office and rescuing the country from this hellhole that it is in. And any other approach will be self-defeating. Think of your children and grandchildren. Will you give them a chance, or will you deny them that chance? Until next time, all the very best.